Hello, everybody, and welcome to One Day Today. This is episode 76, going strong in the year 2021. Welcome, everybody. It's I'm actually really excited about both our guests today. I've met them in the last week or two, in the last week or two, and I'm really excited to have them share with you. We have this is what's so I feel like I say this a lot, but what's so like refreshing and what's so inspiring about this stage for me is just everybody has some gift and something that led from their unique experience. Just they happen to do this. This one thing happened to happen to them. They happen to study this field and follow their passion and just the unique recipe that leads up to the gifts that each person on the stage shares, and it just kind of points me to just the beauty of humanity in which we all have something to contribute to each other. And it's like there's not any exception. There's not I have not found one exception in my life, and this stage is very much holding up that space to show the unique experiences and circumstances of all of our lives lead to the just like us having the courage to face the things that are in our way are the things that lead us to discover the gifts we have to share. And this is what we hold in this space. We are focusing on the beauty, focusing on creating the beauty, and focus on the people who are the helpers, who are lifting others up, who are contributing to people to make their neighborhoods, their communities, their countries, their world something that we all can be enriched by and all be inspired in and all share and play with our gifts. So I'm really excited about both our guests today. I'm going to introduce them in just a moment, but first let me say hello to our co-host Matthew. Matthew, how's it going in Hawaii, brother?
Bit noisy today. I couldn't find a quiet spot, so I'm dealing with the traffic that's sitting right beside me, which is weird for Kona to have this much traffic. Um, no, I'm good. I feel like we kind of talk about this a lot, like what you were just mentioning, uh, the space we hold and the vision that one day represents. But it feels like it's time, and it feels to me it feels like this is the beginning of a paradigm shift of our society. That there's this recognition that what was before no longer works. That we have created a world that is completely out of balance from our own ignorance and from our own lack of intention and awareness. Like we have not put any intention into what we're doing other than maintaining comfort, power, greed, whatever. And I'm talking about individuals. I'm talking about society as a whole, particularly the ones who are making the decisions that are driving many of the changes in society today. And
Yeah,
this space, whether it catches on or not, doesn't matter to me. It just feels important to hold it and to keep putting it out there and to keep sharing it as much as possible. And I just really appreciated being able to be here and to share all these stories with you and hear from our guests. And I don't, I can't think of one show that like I haven't learned something from. So
hmm
with
right.
that said, I feel like let's bring it on. Let's see what we got today.
Yeah, yeah. Let's welcome our first guest to the stage. We have with us Olga Brooks.
Oh yeah.
Welcome, Olga. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's so exciting for me to speak about my mission that I took upon me actually since I was a little girl. I grew up in Russia until the age of 22, and I immigrated to the United States at almost 23. I was 22. Um, I I came to the United States as a Russian bride, so that was a kind of experience on its own. I decided to change my life in Russia. I decided not to go and leave the societal way of thinking and being. Um, I took a risk in the late 90s to change everything in my life. Do not to be in a culture where it was going through a lot of turmoil and stress, where I decided to seek a different life. So that was my one pivotal moment in life. Another pivotal moment was when I had a stroke at the age of 27. um, I found myself lost in my own basement, looking for and waiting for the emergency to come and rescue me. While I was looking around and I did not know what was happening, and I was totally lost. My another pivotal moment in life was when I gave actually that's not the moment, but it actually explains the moment when I gave a birth to my first baby. My obstetrician nurse, she told me, be careful, don't lose yourself in motherhood, because lots of women do lose themselves being staying at home moms. And I was not afraid of that. I said, hey, i'm I'm so creative. How can I lose myself? I love to work in the garden. I love my baby. And guess what? 10 years later, I found myself questioning who I am, what am I doing on this earth, and totally looking at God saying, where are you? And not even knowing who God is. And through that experience, I actually got in touch with my own self. I discovered who God truly is. I rediscovered myself. Um, and through going through divorce, it put me so deep into my own heart and soul that I returned to my own self. And again, this moment of not living by the way society tells you to live. And a few years later, now on the my company called The Return, I had hosted two summits that called The Return to Your Feminine Self, rediscover your feminine wisdom and inner powers within, become whole, happy, and free. And this is what I am doing. I had learned, I had worked with my own body and my energies. I had learned sound Reiki healing. I had learned other modalities, quantum healing, and I am thriving within my own self and thriving um, amongst the people who know what I do and how I can help them. So this is my short story, my short story, which was long story. I'm 45, being born in Russia 45 years ago and going through all of this. Creates incredible story to share in many ways. The perspective of the culture, the perspective of the feminine and the masculine. And that is what they discovered, that feminine women are struggling. We're struggling because we forgot and abandoned our own nature, the nature of creators who create life on this earth. We forgot how to treat ourselves, and we expect men to treat us differently. And this is what I teach women, how to return to self, learn about yourself, your really beautiful, amazing, powerful inner world that is contains in our bodies. I remind men that about equality, that every man who is born on this earth was created inside female's body. So I would love to talk about redefining the language of equality, how valued women are on this earth, because if not the women, there would be no humanity. We are creators of life. We are gatherers. We are upholders of love and invitation for all, for men and women. We are the ones who bring love into the family to create and give it to man. So they grow up and look at their wives, at their mothers, and say, I'm so happy to be alive and I'm so grateful for giving me this life. I myself have two boys, and I feel such responsibility to show them who women are and how to value even the fact that we have these bodies that carried them and created them, formed them, took care of them, protected them inside us and then outside until they're at the age where it's their turn. It's their turn to do the same. So I would love to everyone to listen to themselves and really go back to that nature, to that first nature of us. Um, we wrap ourselves up in the societal thinking, in our problems, in our own understanding of life. But pause for a little bit. Pause for a little bit and see where the beauty comes from. What happens when you look at the beauty of women? It brings you back home. It brings you back to this world of hope, love, um, tenderness. This is what women are. So I work with women and I work with their energies. I explain to them how to take care of their own inner world so the outer world does not look that scary, unfair. Because when we treat ourselves this way, we always attract. We attract those who see us. We attract those who respect us. We attract those who want to be around us. And this is who we are. Women, we are the gatherers. We are, think about the family, yes? Women make this the functional family where you invite people over, you make dinner, you talk and gather around the dinner table, and that's who we are. Let's not forget about that. Now, as a quantum healer, I love restoring our first our energy fields, and then I go into explanation and guiding to that beautiful place, the place that holds our soul, which is our bodies. This is who I am, and this is what I do, and I love it. I love it, and I respect it.
Thank you so much, Olga, for sharing your story and your wisdom. And, it's inspiring. How you know went through these transitions. Yeah, and obviously you had the experience of the stroke, and I mean everything is contributing to how you're contributing back, and how how you've taken your collective experiences and how you're turning them around to contribute to everybody. And I love what you were saying about redefining equality. And I would love for you to tell us more about that. What does that mean to you? What is because I
So,
totally get what you mean about that. But what is I'm just curious. Like what does redefining equality mean to you?
so redefining the language of equality.
Mm-hmm.
See, it happens. I actually love to pocket the quotes. My favorite thing to do. For example, let's look at this one. Opposites attract. Everybody knows this, don't you think? And you believe in it, don't you? But guess what? Nobody tells the end of the story that, when opposites attract, but then when you live together for many years, think about people who like really get annoyed at each other. Yes, so it attracts, but nobody tells the end of the story. So this is kind of a little bit, but when you go into words, everybody is equal. Um, yes, maybe, but what we need to look at, when you say to the man, we're equal, the man start thinking, well, then if we're equal, if we are the same, go build a house, go lift up this heavy stuff. So I would like to look at equality from the perspective of we are different, but we are valued. So the word of equality has been used for many, many years, and it's almost like a fight. You fight for equality. We are all equal. But I would like to look at this from a different perspective. Let's redefine it, and let's look with a different language. Women are very valued humans.
Right.
I don't
I
like
love
word
how you put
deserve,
that.
because in order to deserve, you have to really do something. So
Mhm.
to prove yourself that you deserve. So I would think about equality if there was another word for value.
Mhm.
Women should
Love
be valued. And from that point, you will have equality.
that's so beautifully put. You know, for some reason this came to mind. It's like it's saying like uh, a square is equal to a triangle. It's like is equal. It's like they're different. A square and a triangle, but to say they're equally as valuable. It's like they both
Yes.
have different functions and have different purposes and different strengths. When you need a four-sided it's a four-sided to use a square. When you're saying three-sided, use a triangle. So I love like steering the conversation because it's always been about value, and I feel like people who say equal rights, I think what they really mean is value. Like we all have inherent value, and like and to stand
Yes.
and to hold that space for ourselves and each other is it's a disservice to not hold equal value or to hold value to all. What do you
Yes.
like?
Well, think
What do you
about
say? Oh, go ahead.
whoever. Mhm.
It's a little bit of delay.
Well, think about how language really changes everything. For example, you use language all the time and you think it's normal until you start talking to a psychologist, or you would talk to anyone who are in a field of transformational, like self development. Yes, you would say, oh, I'm so bad at something. And the person would tell you, don't say you're bad, because when you're saying I'm bad at this, that puts a negative effect on you. Yes. So same thing with this. It's just time to really look at it differently and use a different language for people to really see the reality. And the reality is, if there were no women, you would not exist either.
Mm-hmm.
I like.
So
I love the way you put
when
that.
you look at it from different perspective.
So it seems we have a bit of delay. It's kind of hard to tell when you're actually done. But I love the way you put that because it invites one to look at the. Oh, we lost her. Okay. Anyways, until she comes back. Actually, you know what, Abram? Let's go ahead and just take this opportunity if you want to check in with the audience, and then we can, if
Yeah,
she manages to hop back in.
there she is right there.
Okay, maybe possibly. Are we?
Welcome back.
Thank you. I was thrown off. And guess what? I can see you now, because before I couldn't see you.
Oh, hey, cool. That works. But no, so I feel like a lot of what you're doing is actually inviting people to look at the subtext of what they say. So like the all of the things that aren't being said about a particular phrase or way of thinking. Um, and I really appreciate that, especially in this conversation of what are we here? Like, what is it that we have come to experience here? And appreciating the differences in each of us. Like, something that came up a while back. I was at a retreat, and there was a good friend of mine who, she's a classically trained violinist. She's phenomenal. She's amazing. But she was absolutely terrified to play, and we were kind of exploring this, like the fear. And one of the things she said was, like, I don't feel supported to play. And we were also exploring gender roles. And so the question came up, well, okay, what would you feel like you need from a man in that situation? She said, a rock. And when she said that, what immediately came was, being the rock is being absolutely, like, accepting everything that she is in that moment, unconditionally, unconditional, just being exactly where she is, no judgment, no anything. And, like, I saw what the possibility was of that, where if we work together, embracing our differences as man and woman, then it becomes possible to, and it can start either way, with the woman or the man, doesn't matter. Like, it can start where one becomes, like, if you're starting with the man, the rock, the unconditional rock that she can stand on, and then from that, she is able to shine and pull him up, and then from there, he's at a higher place that she can then climb on and stand on, and it just kind of keeps going up and up and up and in and in and in until you find you.
See what happens. I had met very many. I've had done when I had done summits. I had met many women who became healers or in this field of helping women, and their experience like absolutely the same. So what happens is we go into our role supporting a man where man forgets to support a woman and expecting her to be growing with him. So what happens when this dynamic is like that, then woman doesn't grow. So the man grows because she's supporting him, but he's just thinking that she's okay because she's at home and she's doing her stuff and she's fine. Where she, lots of women, they experience and they say, I don't feel supported. And why? In many cases, it does go into not accepting who she is, her weaknesses, and her strength. And the dynamic of the relationship, you do know what your weaknesses and what your strengths on both sides. So if you work with those, supporting each other, yes, I'm stronger in it, you're stronger in some other stuff, and you, that's where that's where the opposites attract. Yes, with this attraction of opposites, you need to support each other in it, and then it kind of creates this equal for both growing and expanding in life. Because what happens to lots of women, they feel that they are not accomplished and have not done their part of life just because they're alone. They did not have these possibilities to bloom. And in many cases, I actually tell you my own experience. The movie The Maleficent woke me up. It woke me up to the point where, I was sitting watching that. My ex-husband were still in the same house, and my 8 years old child, when he saw what happened in the first one, he was in shock. He was kind of in pain, and he said, "How could he do this to her?" And I'm like, I had no filter. I just said, because I woke up at that moment when I saw, when he said that, I said, men do this to women. And from that point on, I was watching that movie totally from a different perspective of how women's wings get cut off in life, and we cannot fly without this support. Not even, I'm not talking even about betrayal, because I went through that too. And lots of women do. But the ability to still have those wings on and actually fly. Because when woman comes into her body, into her own bloom, it feels like flying, and it feels awesome. And I'm sure that any man who is next to her should feel the same, should feel like a rock, should feel like, this is my woman. Look at her flying.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I absolutely feel that. And I actually had the exact same experience watching that movie. Um, I have been very fortunate in growing up to be surrounded by women most of the time, and recognizing the society and the world that we live in, there's not space given to their voices and to their beingness. And I feel like right now we're very, like, I feel like this moment in time holds the potential to start to bring balance back between the masculine and the feminine,
Exactly. That's
to
exactly
come
what
back
it's
into
like.
harmony. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true, and that's like, I think it's, a lot of people are aware of the impact of not being the rock, of not, of like, 'cause I think we're seeing the impact of the toxic conversations of gender and of gender roles and of toxic masculinity, which leads to toxic. It's a cycle that we're really seeing and exacerbated, because of the lack of value. And I think I think now that I feel, when men see that women being supported is actually making life better and bigger for men and their families and their community. It's like we don't, when we actually can see the impact of not only supporting each other, but what we can create from the space of actually true support and true value of each other. Like, and I see that it's so universal, because I see that dynamic I mean, this is very paramount in men and women, but I also see this dynamic in communities that will in the world today. And this is my opinion and my summing up, but I see the same thing in like a secular communities versus spiritual communities, like where they'll in society can act like they're opposites, and it's like we can't learn. Like, there's nothing to get. It's like when we support our neighbors who are different than we are, and we support neighbors who we disagree with, we're also supporting ourselves. And it's like, and I see the same thing with men and women. It's like when we support, it's like when we support the other, it comes back to us. And that's what I see is like what they're missing, because we've been so unaware of the impact of where men and the old toxic generational conversations of how we treated women have been put. We don't even, like, we're not even aware of that women don't even have power, and that they're afraid. It's like that's what's opening now in this new paradigm. Is like people are more aware than ever, especially in this COVID age. People are more aware of other people's suffering, at least in my life, that I've ever seen, than ever before. And the opportunity, it's like, and I see like that's what happens in pandemic and tragedy and trauma in the world, is when others, like it's like I've said, use this example a lot. Mr. Rogers would always say his mom in times of trauma would say, look to the helpers. And I feel like this is what we do. It's like we look to the people who are contributing and the people who are lifting others up. And I feel we've never been more aware of the pain of others. And I feel like it's beautiful to experience a world where people are actually considering this. Maybe the way we had it before is not the best way.
The world is waking up. Yes, the world is definitely waking up. The toxic masculinity, femininity, we both have it. I wouldn't even gender it because, you know, if you have a waste, it's a waste. You know, radioactive waste, can it be masculine? Can that be feminine? It's just a waste, you know. And you were talking and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many ideas and so many other ways of thinking about it. Think about if you have that toxicity, first of all, it is in you. It is nothing to do with another person. So whenever other person has it and gets it out on you, you can actually be protected if you know about your energies. I don't have anybody in me. I'm thinking, okay, dude, you think this way, you can think that way, but not me. Bye. So I'm okay. I'm happy. So until those people would come to the senses and understanding and their own awakening, and it's not for me to shake them or tell them, look, I'm this and you're that.
Right.
You know, women, I've, it's so interesting. I always was very tomboyish. I wanted to go to the army when I was young, when I was like 12, and there was no girls allowed at that time. I did read books on femininity when I was very young, but I'm holding a black belt in karate. It's just who I am inside, and yeah, I can kick your ass, but I'm still feminine, you know. Now, what would you like to do to be more feminine? I would ask. Let me ask you, both of you. Like, I've got my masculine part in me because all of us have it. So that's the thing, that how we should look at each other. Okay, I'm a feminine, I'm a woman, and I have my energies that are very loving, very, you know, mother kind of oriented, beauty and all that stuff, heartfelt. Now let's go switch it around and go on you, but at the same time I'm doing this stuff. So what can you do feminine and be okay with that?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer that. I'll answer that first. And so, you know, we have to welcome Matt in a moment, but I would love to participate in this first. So for me, I think a little bit of, I think self-care. I think I could use more of I mean, I think I've been relatively feminine. Like at least how I've experienced others experiencing me, I feel like I've always had a little bit of femininity.
Well,
but
let me just help you a little bit there. We all have feminine and the masculine. So how do you use your feminine? Are you ashamed of it, or are you embracing it? Because here's what I want to tell you before you say it. If you don't respect your feminine within you, you are disrespecting your like the whole feminine. So if
Absolutely.
I disrespect my masculine within me, I disrespect the whole masculine outside of me.
Yeah.
So you need to learn how to respect that within you, and then you actually respect it outside of you. So go. Now your turn.
So what I could be more, I guess, feminine. I think I could be more nurturing with myself. I think I'm very, I think I could share more with the people, with my family. I'm very vulnerable with the people in my life, but I'm not as, I kind of I haven't been as in touch with my family and close in touch with them, and I haven't been as vulnerable with them. But I think it's self-care and self-nurturing. I kind of pretend that sometimes that I don't have to do that. I'll overload and overwork and overwhelm to do it all, get it done. But while not caring for myself and the people that have nurtured me.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is one thing. What you're talking about is actually to express emotions, to share with your family, or even I'm not sure if you have a girlfriend or a wife. So when you actually, yes, this is the feminine part of all of us, where we are attached to our expressing them. And in lots of relationships, men would point out and say, "You're too emotional. You're too," but we are very, very aware of it. So if you would start being more aware of it and be okay with that, then others would be okay with that too. And if you try to share, see the results, like see the people's reaction to it. Because when we share, you feel better and other people feel more closer to you, and that's a feminine invite.
Yeah, I love that. I have experienced that in a lot of my my social life and my professional life, but not as much in my family life. So I think that's powerful. Thank you for pointing me to that. I want to let Matthew answer that question briefly, but we do have to go on to our second guest in a moment here. But we're going to come back to you as well, Olga.
Okay.
Matthew, go ahead and answer that question.
Just very briefly, because I know I've been feeling pressure time as well. The first thing that came was expressing my own creativity, letting myself be weird and out there and different and not giving into the fear of trying to fit in. So like literally just following more with what
I'm getting some background noise, Matthew,
Yeah.
but I just want to say, Olga, I just want to say thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story and just sharing your just amazing insight, your just what how you've taken what you've experienced in your life and are turning it around and shining a light on all of us and bringing out all of our own balance, inside us, but also collectively. And I think it's such beautiful, important work that you're up to. And I just acknowledge you and just so honor and appreciate you being with us.
Thank you, and I'm grateful you actually. This is the first time I'm speaking about all of that. I usually would go into one or another segment, but this is just great to speak with men. I actually have a group on Facebook that's called "The Time of the Return of Man," where men, they can't really come together. There are some people who I really admire who work with men and boys, and I actually want my boys to my 14-year-old to learn from him about femininity, about masculinity, and be healthy about it. And that's what it is. We all need to be healthy about both genders. So I have a group where men really cannot gather themselves together and say, "Hey, let's just talk about feminine and the masculine." So I decided to provide that space for them, like we're talking right now. So I share some information. I like John Gray, who wrote "Men Are from Mars and Women Are from Venus." So he does amazing live videos for like 2 hours, and he can go for 3 hours. So I always share in my groups, in my feminine group and in my masculine group, just to learn all the things that we don't usually think during a day. During our lifetime, we look at the problems, but we don't look at the solutions and the reality of it. For example, hormones, how do they really play an incredible role in both of us? When men are very attending to women, our hormones rises up. When our hormone rises up, it triggers the hormone rise. We have sorry, sometimes I forget the word estrogen and what is the other one? So when our hormone goes up, we trigger the testosterone in men, and that's why you feel great. And all those, all of these that we don't think about, we're like, well, she's angry at me. Well, what is the reason? Why is her hormone is not up? How about you come and just hug her and you will see the result? Like we need to know all of those, the play of those hormones and how you can create such an incredible life for yourself when you know that. So yeah, there is a lot to go into, be that the body part, be that sexual. I actually getting ready to have a workshop on tantric sexuality, which is so amazing when you know that your life changes, your life, your partner's life changes when you learn these things.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Thank you, Olga, for sharing your insight, your wisdom. You're just the work you're up to is just it's so amazing, and we acknowledge you and we honor you. Thank you.
We have to hang out more often.
Yeah, and we're gonna have you back in just a moment here. I'm gonna check in with our audience and welcome our second guest here. But thank you again, Olga, for being with us, and thank you all at home for tuning in with us. Want to take this moment really quick to just to share on the stage. I want to invite you to share your story. I want to hear what you've been through, what you've experienced in your life that's allowed you to discover yourself and the gift that you have to share. And this is a space for you to share that gift. If you had one thing that you knew would make the difference in somebody else's life, what would it be? This is why we want to invite you to share. And this is our mission, bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. Now, I would like to welcome our second guest. We have with us Matt Harline. Welcome, Matt. Thank you for being with us.
Good to be with you. And I should have warned you beforehand. Most everyone pronounces my last name Harline when it's actually supposed to be pronounced Harline, but Harline. That's okay. I didn't tell you that before. So.
Got it.
Good to be here. Very good to be here.
Well, so good to have you. We spoke briefly yesterday, and you were sharing with me about what you're up to. And I don't even want to summarize it. I just want to let you have at it because it's really inspiring, your whole story and what you're up to. So without further ado, Matt, the stage is yours.
Okay, so when I think about sometimes life turns you upside down, and some people respond to that negatively, and they just focus on the things that they've lost or the things that have changed. Other people focus on, wow, this is an opportunity for me to do something different. I want to inspire people to embrace the things that they can do, to stretch their limits, but to really understand that change that has come about and look at life positively, because sometimes when life turns you upside down, you just have to turn it upside down again. And I'd like to tell you a couple of moments in my life that help realize that is what I really want to do. And actually there are a whole bunch of them. I won't tell you all of them, just two. About 5 years ago, I was riding a bicycle and was in a collision with a pickup truck, which ended up putting me in the hospital for 5 days with a traumatic brain injury. I tried to go back to work a few months later, and I really tried, worked hard, but about 3 months after that, a coworker of mine, actually he was my employee, I had a group of engineers in the high-tech industry that I worked with, and he said, Matt, this isn't working. And I knew it wasn't working. I knew that I couldn't do this job anymore, but it was hard to admit to myself that I couldn't do it anymore. And that moment, I realized, okay, it's time to do something different. And actually, throughout this whole time, while I was recovering, I went back to what I really wanted to do when I was in high school. which was I wanted to be an artist. And so I picked up watercolor paints and a paintbrush and started creating paintings. And since then, I've been focusing my life on painting. The next moment that I want to tell you about happened about 2 years ago. I was standing between my house and my art studio in Northern California in a place called Concal, which is just east of the town of Paradise in Northern California. This was a month after a fire had ravaged the town of Paradise and also my property where my house and art studio were. And I looked out and all I could see was just ashes. And I remember thinking, well, I guess that was my practice round. I get to start all over again. And as my wife and I were sorting through the ashes, trying to see if there was anything salvageable, I thought of a song. This is going to sound really corny, but I thought of a song from an old Disney movie, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And in this song, there's the chorus that goes, "From the ashes of disaster grow the roses of success." And my thought was, well, there's roses in here someplace. And as I was sorting through the ashes, actually, I don't know if you can see this very well. This is a lump of blue that happened to be some blue paint that was left over. Somehow it managed to survive. I mean, it's solid now. It wasn't something I could paint with, but I picked that up and I thought, well, here's the part of the rose that I'm looking for. And I picked up more of the burnt wood and I scraped off the carbon that was on that wood, and I pounded it down and made powder so that I could make watercolor paint from it. And I actually found that I could add that powder, that pigment, into other colors in acrylic, and it'd do wonderful things with the paint. From the ashes of that disaster grow roses of success. I've got some things I want to share with you, and if Matthew, if you could share my screen there, that's great. So let me make this a little bit bigger. And so you can see this. Everyone has a story, and this is kind of my story after my accident. But I want to tell you the story about a little girl. I was introduced to her mom. She has Wolff-Hirschhorn syndrome, and you can look this up if you want to later. But she has some challenges, and her mom sent me some pictures and a video of her. And in this video, she was in a wheelchair and her little brother was behind the wheelchair, kind of dancing to some music. And I knew at the time that I needed to do a painting of this little girl and her brother dancing. And so this is a painting that I created. She can't really dance on her own. She can't even dance with her brother by herself. But with this contraption, a walker that she's strapped into, she could dance. I was introduced then to another woman who has a daughter that has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and also in a wheelchair. And the story about Lily was that she came home from school in her wheelchair when she was in kindergarten, crying because she wanted to meet someone just like her. She'd been teased and bullied because she was in a wheelchair. So she and her mom wrote a book called Be Kind, Silly. And this book started a path for Lily to make presentations at her school to teach kids to be kind to each other and to not be bullies. This little girl not only went to her school, other schools. Eventually, she got invited at the age of 7 to do a presentation to the Colorado State Legislature. Amazing little girl. To her mom, she's a superhero. And so I painted this picture of Lily with a superhero cape, helping her favorite bird, a quail, to fly. Lily's mom suggested that I make a book, a collection of these paintings of children that have special challenges, that rare disorders or diseases, and to tell their stories, to help inspire children and their families that there are things that they can do. The working title I have for this book is See What I Can Do. And I am looking for people who are interested, who have children that need their stories told. This year, I've got a goal of creating 20 paintings. I want to be able to help children and their parents to know that there are things that they can do instead of focusing on the things that they can't do. I want to tell one more, do I have time? One more quick story. I met a man who's wasn't adopted, and at a young age, his adoptive parents passed away. He remembers when he was 8 years old, a special story, a special experience where he was flying kites with his father. His father was given the nickname in this organization of Black Hawk, and he was given the organization the name of Red Tail Hawk. His mom, an Irish woman, is represented here by a red kite. They were off flying kites in this activity, and I painted this picture so that it would remind this man of that event when he was 8 years old, with his father and his mother looking over him. I've done these paintings, and it's been a very real experience, an emotional experience for me to be able to tell people stories. And I'm just going to stop sharing this right now, but maybe if we could come back there. So I just wanted to be able to tell people stories, tell the stories of these children, tell people stories, whatever it is that you want to be reminded of every day by a painting that's hanging in your hallway or in your living room of that special moment in your life that maybe changed you or made you who you are. And that's what I'm all about. Sometimes when life turns you upside down, you just need to turn it upside down again. And Abram, Matthew, any questions?
Thank you so much, Matt. That's so powerful. Everything you've shared is, and just, I love it on so many levels. I mean, it hits home for me, but it's just the depth and the power of focusing on just what everybody has, as opposed, like, it's so easy. Like, as a society, we focus on the things that are missing, and we don't recognize the abundance that we already have in who we are and what we have. And I just love, I love what you're doing, because you're taking these, you're taking these children and not only showing them their power, that they have value, but you're giving them it's like they have something so unique that none of us have to offer, and it's like they have something that's so beautiful that we all, like, we are so much better off with them. And if we all can actually hold that space and say, like, you're beautiful, you're valuable, and, like, share your gifts with us, like, when we're all standing there, like, that's what's I love what's available when we actually hold that space, and it's like there's no focus on what we don't have, on what's different. It's like what we do have and what's available is just, there's so much everybody has to offer. And I just love that your art is just not only a testament to that, but it is an embodiment of the gift that we all can see when we actually look for it.
it's not just my art. I mean, I have an opportunity, I have a talent to be able to express this and share my art with people, but I go to a traumatic brain injury support group every Thursday night. And there I get a chance to receive support for this brain injury that I have. And I also am able to give support to people who have that brain injury, that we're in this situation where we want to be able to do things that we can't do anymore. And just embracing those things that we can do, that's the important thing that I try to help people understand. It's not always easy. And sometimes it's really hard.
I was going to ask was
your sound is really it's really
is
fuzzy.
it
I think what you're what you're pointing to, Matt, it's you are creating, it's like diamonds and pearls. It's like under pressure, our beauty is able to shine. And it's like you are a testament of that, but also what you are doing for these children, what you're doing. It's just like you are pointing us to our own beauty when we focus on that. Let me see if Matthew, see this.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Yay. Okay. So I feel like something like there's something that didn't click for me, that when you shared about going to the TBI, or the traumatic brain injury group every Thursday, it clicked. Like, the question I was going to ask was, what is it about being able to share this with those children and the world resonates so strongly with you? But I feel like I get it now. And I love to just hear your comment on this. But what I heard was, it's the recognition that just because you're different doesn't mean that you're disempowered. Does that resonate at all?
Yes. And some people struggle with that. They feel like they've been disempowered and they have no control, and they can't get over it. But if we can just embrace those things that we can do and just grow from there, you'll be much happier, and you can bring more to each other. And that's one of the beauties of a support group, or this opportunity to meet with other children that have the same kind of abilities that you have. You get to support each other, and you get to see that maybe I can grow here, or maybe I can grow there, instead of just focusing on, I used to be a manager in an engineering high-tech company creating new products. I can't do that anymore. I could sit and watch TV all day long and just wallow in my sadness, or I pick up a paint and paintbrush, and this was something I had wanted to do anyway, so let's see what I can do. And that's the beauty of being able to embrace those things that you can do, and not to say that you don't try and do improve, or not try and stretch yourself, but certainly focus on what you can do, not the things that you've lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Abram, your mic is cutting out for some reason. It shows you're unmuted, but I can't hear anything you're saying. So there's something that comes up quite a bit on the show, and I know we have to end it here pretty briefly, so I'm just going to drop this and we can close out. But we don't should ourselves. That's something that a friend of mine's grandmother used to say all the time. We don't should ourselves. Things should be this way, or things should be different. This is how things are now. And when we say things should be different, the energy that comes with that I feel is one of not acceptance. We're focusing too much on what we can't do and not on what we can, and looking for new ways to contribute and to just start from where we're at and jump from that point instead of trying to change it back to what we think it should be.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Matt. And Abram, if your mic is working, I believe now is the time to close out.
It's working now. So I do have a little bit. I pushed back my other thing, so I do have a little bit more time, so I'm not rushing out. But yeah, but I love it. Like focus, like not the should, like don't focusing on the shoulda, coulda, woulda. I've tried, had 34 years of experience. I've never won a game of shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, I might keep trying, but I have a feeling that I don't think I'll ever win that game. But I think it's powerful. And I mean, this is like I was talking yesterday on the phone, Matt, how, I see this as a society. It's like, this is an individual, but also a collective thing. It's like it's the world of, or the paradigm of, welcome back, Olga. It's the paradigm of abundance or of lack. And I see like, we could easily focus on what we don't have and be wallowing in the lack. But at the same time, with the same circumstance, with nothing shifted other than the mindset of just looking for what we do have, that's like that mindset shift, that paradigm shift is what gives access to new possibilities, new paradigms of being, where we are focused collectively on what we have, and which each of us have, with the gifts that I have, the gifts that you have, the gifts that he has, the gifts that she has. Like we all, when we actually focus on what we have, that's where the magic happens and what's possible for humanity. And that's kind of what the space is about. It's like when we actually, and then just kind of bring everything back home, just like what Olga was sharing, if all men and women held the space to support each other, and at the same time, if we held the space for every person who has a traumatic brain injury or every mental illness, like we saw the gift that everybody is. It's like I have one of my family members. So my grandpa. So my grandma got divorced and remarried, and I never met my actual grandfather, but my grandfather remarried, and she has someone in her family has Down syndrome, and I was talking to her just about this and how some of the biggest lessons in her life, in the biggest turmoil in her life, she found peace from her from the child with Down syndrome, and how he was being, and like how there's a perspective that people have, from their brain injuries or from their I'll call disability, but it's like that gives them something that we could never have without them sharing the gift that they are. And I want to share. I want every voice, every light, every person to be expressed, for us to be enriched by the gifts that they have to share. And that's why I love. I mean, I see in the work that both of you are doing, it is lifting up people who otherwise wouldn't be lifted up. And I see we have so much to gain as a society and as individuals, our families, our communities, our cities, our countries, by actually giving space for the gifts that we all have to share. And I mean, no exceptions. I want to give you both an opportunity. Olga's back now. I just wanted to give you both an opportunity, see if there's anything you'd like to share based on what was shared. And Matt, if you had anything to comment from what Olga shared, or Olga, if you caught end of Matt's.
The brain injury, when I went through my stroke, it just opened up to me so much of understanding. Like I can connect with people with any brain problems, because I know how it feels when teeny tiny speck was in your brain was damaged, and I cannot see, I cannot I lost orientation. I could not move my arm and leg, and how I had to relearn all of that. And I see other people who are struggling with that too. Like, I could relate myself to the old people, to the here. Am I here?
Yeah, you're back. There you
So
are.
I could relate myself to like so many people. Like, I thought I was losing my mind because I was losing my vision, and I saw things in my visual field like, whoa, what's going on? You know, I understand that there is nothing you can do. We can't blame a person for having the injury. We can't blame person for being born this way. It's not that person's fault. This is the biggest thing that I discovered through my injuries, because we tend to blame everybody because, first of all, we're different, yes, and that's again going back into those differences, respecting that and actually understanding the differences, and maybe even uplifting those differences. So yeah, this is what I want to say. Just like looking at the person who's got these problems, it's not the person's fault, but look at him as he is or she is. See how you can help.
Thank you. Absolutely. Matt, would you like to add anything?
Well, just one. I owe a lot to who I am, to my parents, but especially to my mom. So in the early 1940s, she was a college student at UC Berkeley majoring in electrical engineering. You can imagine there aren't very many women at that point in time that were studying anything in engineering. But she got a degree, and while she ended up spending the next 30 years raising children, she had 9 children. She and my dad had 9 children, but she went back to it. And when we were old enough to in school and stuff, and she got a job as a computer programmer, and she's my hero. It's not about whether you're a man or a woman. It's about what you can do. And men, as you said, Olga, men have feminine traits, women have masculine traits, and we build on each other. We are who we are instead of who society thinks we should be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. And I'm amazed by women who have more than 2 children. I had 2, and I said, no more hosting humans in my body. I'm really impressed by women who have more than 2.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I really appreciate, and I just honor both of you for being with us and sharing your story and sharing your experience that's led you to do the amazing work you're doing. It just humbles me to the core, and I'm just so grateful that you're both here. And I would love to have you both back with us again soon and share some more. And we'd love to see more of your artwork and hear more. And Matt, I forgot to ask, is there? I know you were looking for more. Was it more children to be
Yes.
a part of your project? Did you want to say anything to that?
Just if you want to participate with me in my book, See What I Can Do, you can send me an email, matt.harline@gmail.com. And I don't know if I can post a comment or something like that to the YouTube or on Facebook, but we can, that's it. And I'd be happy to talk with you. I'm not asking people to buy the painting if they, obviously the painting will be for sale to them, but I do want to be able to include the story and the painting in this book. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to help others who have children who have special abilities as well.
Thank you so much again for the work that you both do and for being with us. We really just honor and appreciate you. And thank you all at home for tuning in with us. Again, I want to take a real quick moment to invite you to share your gift on this stage. You know, why we are here is for you, is to share the gift that you are, the gift that you have to share that enriches us all, that contributes to make a better world for us, for your street, for your neighborhood, for your city, for your community, for your world. And it's like this is something that you and I choose right now. We choose the future we live into. And when we're inspired and we're lit up by the passion and the purpose that the gifts that we have to share that are contributing to others are the very things that we are empowered to do, you know, what's possible when we're standing there? And that's what the space that we hold here and that we hold sacred. And again, this is what our vision here at One Day is. You know, what we are about is humanity rising in a connected world with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. That's why we're here. We're here to share your story. Thank you all again for being here. Thank you to Matt and Olga for being with us. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week. I love you all. Be safe, be well. And one day is today.